On this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 8 ways that I have begun to embody the identity of someone who is willing to take the action, the desired action, such as being visible, because the person that I used to be in the past, I was someone who was not willing to engage with her reality. All right, let's say that again. All right, this episode, so welcome to my channel. On today's episode, I'm going to be sharing you, all right, welcome to my channel. On today's episode, I am going to be sharing with you 8 ways that I am shifting my identity from one of avoiding to one of being willing to engage with my reality. So the video that I did last week, I shared with you 8 reasons that I had discovered that I had been avoiding. And so on this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the 8 ways that I am shifting myself from that identity, one of avoiding to one who is willing to engage, okay? And so again, I do have my notes because again, all of this is new for me. I am still actively shifting this identity. And so I am just sharing with you what it is that I am doing, and recording a video and posting it on YouTube is more than just about recording a video and posting. It's more than about me just sharing information, okay? This is one of the ways that I'm actually giving myself the exposure of visibility, of being vulnerable, of sharing, of doing this action that I have avoided. I've wanted to share. I've wanted to do things like this in the past, but I've not done it because of emotions that would come up whenever I would attempt to do it. And that emotion would be the thing that would stop me from taking the action. And so that takes me right into the number one thing that I am actually doing to shift my identity, is identifying the feeling that is underneath the avoidance. So a lot of the reasons why I didn't allow myself to be visible was because of feelings of embarrassment, feelings of fear, feelings or fear of failure. Stumbling like I just did. I would be afraid to make those mistakes. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be ridiculed. And so that emotion would be, and again, it's a prediction, and we'll get into that a little bit as we progress through these 8 ways that I am shifting my identity. I would avoid taking the action because I didn't want to feel the emotion. And so the first thing that I've done is begun to identify the emotions that I was avoiding, such as, again, fear, rejection, disappointment, and things of that nature. So the second thing that I have begun to do is to separate feeling from instruction. So again, like I just mentioned, I would allow that feeling that would rise within me to be the reason that I wouldn't take the action. The feeling was giving me the instruction not to move. And so I've had to begin to separate the two. Yes, the feeling is going to come up, especially when you're beginning to do something new, but it is not a reason for you to stop. I use the experience of driving a lot because driving a car is a big deal. Okay, you are moving this machine on the road with other drivers, right? And when you first learned to drive, you were nervous. You didn't just get in the car and just start driving, and maybe somebody, okay, but I was nervous. It wasn't something that I had done before, but I didn't let it stop me from being willing to learn. Okay, so the same thing applies when you are wanting to do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Whatever the thing is that you're wanting to do is the same thing. You have to separate the emotion of fear from taking the action. Okay, that's the second thing that I have begun to do. The third thing is making room for the outcome. We don't get to control the outcome. Yes, if you take the action to be visible, you are risking being judged. You are risking failing, making a mistake, stumbling over your words like I've done a few times in this video. You have to be willing to have that experience and allow that outcome to exist. It's okay. It doesn't mean a thing until you assign it a meaning. So let whatever outcome happen. Learn from it. Become better because of it. But don't allow yourself to formulate a meaning that goes against what it is that you're wanting to do. How many of us would have stopped driving if we allowed making mistakes to stop us? We wanted to drive bad enough to make the mistake, to bump up on the curve, to cut somebody off in traffic. Okay, you were willing. And now look at you driving like you don't even think about it. It doesn't make you nervous. You get in the car, you go wherever it is you want to go, and you don't even think about it. The same should apply for anything that you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to speak, do it. The fourth thing that I am doing to shift my identity from someone who avoids to someone who is willing to engage is making the action small and consistent. Be willing to do the action incrementally and consistently. So, just to give a little bit of context, when I first decided to post on YouTube, I didn't record my face. I did what I call an audio reflection. So I basically recorded myself reading from a script. You can actually go back and look at some of my content. You'll see that there is a background with my voice behind the background reading from a script. Now, a lot of people don't actually look at those. They should, because I got a lot of good stuff in there. But at least right now, I don't get a ton of views on those. Actually, I forget I even said that. I've recorded those, and that was how I first introduced myself to YouTube. That was a small action. And you know what's interesting? After I posted the first couple of those audio reflections, I was immediately ready to record myself and post. Because why? Evidence. I saw nothing terrible happened. Nothing terrible happened. Now, what's interesting is when I did post myself and I was telling my story, giving my experience from a previous relationship and some of the lessons that I learned, I got cut off in telling my story. I apologize. But when I did post a video sharing an experience that I had from a previous relationship, I actually got a few comments that did not necessarily feel pleasant. Not at first. But then I realized I don't get to control somebody's opinion of anything that I post. People can think and feel and believe however they choose. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It means they have an opinion. And again, I've made room for that. The fifth thing that I have begun to do to shift my identity is to redefine success. Success for me is no longer about whether or not you like my video, watch my video, engage with me in the comments. That is not how I am measuring my success. That's how I would used to measure my success. But now my success is measured by the fact that I was willing to post this video and the other videos. I was willing to do it. I showed up for myself. I'm giving myself the experience that's necessary for me to next level. And so that is what I celebrate. That is me redefining what success means. If you take that action, don't worry about whether or not somebody likes or claps for you or acknowledges what you've done. You acknowledge what you did. You celebrate what you've done. You are who make the difference for you. And so celebrate yourself. Don't make somebody else's reaction to what you've done be what defines success. Because then you become someone whose emotions are moved by the world. And I have decided I will not be moved by what somebody else thinks or feels. And that's being positive or negative. It doesn't matter. Because look, think about ball players, basketball players. Have you ever watched a basketball game of your favorite team or your favorite ball player, and then when they're doing good, you cheering them on? Okay, you like, okay, that's my dude, that's my guy. Okay, he's running that ball up and down the court, and I'm celebrating him. But let him have an off season. Oh my goodness, I have seen so many people go from, adamant supporters of a ball player to dogging that man out because he's having an off season. But you know what? That ball player don't care. He knows he's still getting paid, so he's gonna keep on doing what it is that he does, in spite of how people might feel. And that's how we gotta be. We gotta show up anyhow. We can't wait for people to cheer us on. We gotta just be willing to cheer ourselves on. So your success is defined by the fact that you actually did it, that you were actually willing, that you showed up. So I'm celebrating myself for posting this video, recording and posting this video. I will be celebrating myself. All right. And I apologize because I am reading from my notes. All right. And I'm going to do my best to not edit out much, because that is, again, another way that I am showing myself that, hey, just be yourself, be human. You're not a robot. Number six way that I am shifting my identity is by allowing myself to be a beginner. Again, going back to the example of driving a car. When you first got in that vehicle with your driving instructor, no matter who it was, you were nervous. You didn't just get in there and feel all confident. I didn't, at least. Let me just use myself. I don't know about you, but I didn't get in that car and I wasn't nervous. I was nervous as heck. I was nervous as heck. Okay. But guess what? I kept showing up. And then that nervousness began to diminish. And guess what? Now I drive like a pro. I don't think nothing about it. And I'm quite sure you can relate to that. All right. So just want to read this little note that I made. So nervousness does not mean that you are not capable. It means you are not practiced. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that you are not capable of doing the thing. It means you're not practiced. One of the things that I was so fascinated by, I'm a grandmother now, and I was watching my grandson when he was beginning to take his first steps. And the progression from him going from gripping the edge of the playpen and taking a few steps and falling down to him actually now walking. And what I loved about it is what it said to me. It said, Kashina, you're going to be a little nervous in the beginning. You're going to stumble a few times. But if you keep showing up, if you keep being willing, before you know it, you're going to be walking just like your grandbaby, just like we went through that same process. And it's just, when I watched my grandson, it reminded me of that. All right, let's move it along. So number 7, become curious when you notice yourself avoiding. Don't judge yourself. Because just because you get the information doesn't mean those avoidant tendencies are not going to show up again. But now that you are aware, you're going to get curious. You're going to ask yourself these questions. What am I predicting? What am I trying not to feel? What am I making this outcome mean about myself? So I'm going to give you an example of this process. So think about posting a YouTube video. So the prediction may be people might judge me. The feeling that comes up is fear or anxiety. So the old instruction would be, don't post. We're going to avoid this feeling. But curiosity creates space for you to pause. So you go, wait, fear is here. But fear does not make the decision. So now you have a choice. Do I actually want to post? The action becomes, I post while allowing fear to come along for the ride. Number 8 is repeated engagement. So this is where you take what you have demonstrated and you consistently show up, showing yourself that this thing that you're wanting to do is possible. You show up despite feeling the emotion of fear, anxiety, fearing judgment, fearing disappointment, fearing whatever emotion comes up. You consistently show up so that you show yourself. It does not matter what happens. What matters is that you are willing to take the action, that you're willing to show up anyway. And we talk about waiting until we feel courageous enough to do the thing. Courage does not come before you experience the fear. You have to get over the fear to build the courage. That's where your courage lives, in taking the action anyhow. All right? So I'm going to leave it right there. That is 8 reasons that I have begun to shift myself out of the identity of someone who avoids to stepping into the identity of someone who is willing to engage. And I am going to keep the conversation going. I don't know what my next video is going to be just yet, but I'm realizing that this is a message that I am really wanting to share with the world, with all of the people that might be just like myself, who has these dreams, has these desires, wanting to take action that they're not taking because of an emotion that we are avoiding. And it's just time out for that. It's time for us to start facing our fears, moving past fear by allowing fear to come along for the ride, because that is just a nervous system response that is basing that experience off of something from the past. And think about it. It's not a terrible thing that you have a guidance system that says, hey, we've had this experience before. Do you want to keep going? And you decide, do you want to keep going? And hopefully your answer is yes, because you want to create that space for all of the different possibilities of having the life of your desires. But if you don't create capacity for it, how are you going to hold it? If you don't make room within yourself for the things that you desire, how are you going to have it? How do you expect the universe to deliver anything to you that you have not created the space for you to hold? All right, I'm going to leave it right there. Let me stop preaching. I'm going to end it right there. Once again, I thank you for watching. And until next time, lovelies, be blessed.